So if you haven't heard me talk about prepdish.com, then this might be the first Hey Girl episode you've ever listened to. Here's what you need to know. Life is full. I don't care if you're a mom, an empty nester, you got littles. It's just the nature of our calendars, the schedules, all the things. And so I'll be totally honest, we have been eating so much healthier these days, and I'm feeling way better than I did even a month ago. And so I want to encourage all of my listeners, maybe you're in that place where you're like, okay, I need to eat healthier. Maybe you've been eating really healthy, but you're like, the whole process is just really overwhelming, from planning meals to figuring out what to buy at the grocery store, to recipes, to preparation. I'm telling you, prepdish.com is totally here to help. If you go to prepdish.com/heygirl, you're gonna get a free trial. So here's the thing, it's free. Why not give it a try? Once you sign up, they're gonna send you an entire week's worth of recipes, a whole meal plan. You can do paleo, you can do gluten-free. It's gonna give you the shopping list. It's gonna give you all of the steps for preparation. It literally is going to take all of the hard brain space that we need for other things out of the mix. And so prepdish.com/heygirl, absolutely give it a try. I am telling you, just eating healthier for the last month has cleared up so much of the fog in my brain, and makes us do everything better. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. Go to prepdish.com/heygirl for your 2-week free trial.
Hey girls, and welcome to season 3 of the Hey Girl podcast with my mom, Bethany Needham. Each week, guests will share their amazing stories of following Jesus on all kinds of journeys. I hope their stories inspire you to run your race in your place. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey listeners, and welcome back to the Hey Girl podcast. This week, I get to introduce you to Stefanie Cassetto. I am so excited for this introduction for so many reasons, but first and foremost, for those of you who have registered for Simply Beautiful, or maybe you're dragging your feet and you're going to register, Stefanie is actually coming to do a workshop at Simply Beautiful, as well as our evening keynote speaking. I met her last year at our Simply Worship conference, and her husband and a team of worship leaders from their church came out from Saddleback in California and helped serve at our Simply Worship conference here in New England. And we just instantly loved every single one of them. Their servant's heart, they just, from the moment they stepped off the plane, poured into our people, our teams, and it's just kind of hard not to like them. So I thought it would be so fun to introduce Stefanie through the podcast, so that for those of you who are going to be at Simply Beautiful, you kind of have a sneak peek before you get to hear her speak. But also, even if you're not coming to Simply Beautiful, I know that her story and her heart will be such an encouragement to you. And I also love that she got to talk about some pretty brand new, exciting news in their family. And I'll leave it to her to share. But I'm just saying, I am maybe more excited than I should be, considering I'm not actually in their family, but I'm pretty stoked for them. Changes are coming, and it's going to be incredible. I cannot wait for you to hear Stefanie's story, to get to know her. And those of you who will be at Simply Beautiful, make sure you get a hold of Stefanie and be like, hey, I heard your story on the podcast. I'm sure she'd love it. Without further ado, meet my friend, Stefanie Cassetto. All right, so listeners, I have a very special guest with me on today's episode. And Stefanie, let me see, what can we say about Stefanie? First of all, I just got to meet you at Simply Worship this past season. You and your husband flew out from California with your part of your worship team from your church, and you helped and served alongside of us for Simply Worship. I'm just going to be totally brutally honest. We instantly fell in love with you all.
Aw, we love you too.
Oh, okay. So a couple of things. One, you're coming back to speak at Simply Beautiful this year.
Yes.
I am giddy excited about this. I am so pumped. But then you're also coming back again for Simply Worship. We get you 2 weekends in a row.
We can't stay away.
That's what we like to hear. So, Steph, we really got to know each other in that one day. It's a one-day conference. So our friendship consists of serving at a worship conference and then squeezing in at a table at Boston Market, enjoying some good old-fashioned rotisserie chicken.
Yes.
But I first want to say thank you for being on the show and welcome to Hey Girl.
Oh gosh, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited just to get to know you more and to talk just for a little bit and share some of my story and my heart.
I love that you're in California, and so even though I'm sitting here and it's dark and a little cold, I'm just staring at sunshine.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
It's looking toasty warm there as well.
Yes, 93 degrees is what my thermometer currently says.
Oh, my Lanta. Yeah, no thank you. I'll stay here.
Yeah. Yes, I'll join you shortly.
I know, right? Well, Stefanie, I know just a very small piece of your story, but I would love the opportunity to hear more, as I'm sure my listeners would too. So why don't you take some time and tell us all things Stefanie Cassetto?
You know, I love hearing you talk about just that day that we got to spend together at Simply Worship in the spring. I loved you and Andy and your team and what that conference is all about. And I'm so excited to come back out and do Simply Beautiful and then Simply Worship again, mostly because I think why we connected so quickly and why we resonated with each other is that our hearts really beat for the local church and local church leaders. And then even beyond that our hearts beat in a special way for New England. That was one of the things that I was like, I love these people. I love this place. I love what's happening here because I could sit and talk about church and New England and those things all day long and family and all of that. And so there were so many similarities. So much of my story has to do with the local church. I grew up in church. My dad was a pastor, you know, just your normal local church. It was great church family. I have so many fond memories of my days in that church. And my mom was the worship leader, so she directed the choir, she led the hymns and all of that. So I literally grew up kind of with a front row seat to what happens in the church. And being a pastor's kid, there's lots of stereotypes that come with a pastor's kid. I am thankful, and I feel like it's one of God's greatest gifts to my life, that I didn't grow up and feel embittered or frustrated with church or frustrated with being a pastor's kid, but rather he used those years of my childhood and being in the church so much as seeds that he planted really deep in my heart and wanting to be a part of what he's doing, whether it was in Kansas where I grew up or wherever it was going to take me. I knew that I wanted to keep on being a part of his church and do whatever I could to help grow it and shape it and all of that. And so that's kind of where my story begins. And I can fast forward to like my college years where, you know, that's really where that passion, I think maybe I realized that it was there. You know, he planted that seed. And then when I got to Bible college, I went to Bible college at Lincoln Christian University in Lincoln, Illinois. So like surrounded by cornfields in the middle of the state, very small school. But really, those were formative years where I really started to become my own in terms of, okay, I grew up in the church. I know what that's like, but now really kind of adopting these ideas that I've always known, but really ingesting them and making them fully my own, and then using that as kind of a springboard for my future. And so it was there where I feel like I was like, okay, I really feel like God's starting to give me direction for my life. It's also there where I met my husband. We were best friends all through college and got to spend lots of time together, getting to know each other. We both traveled like in a singing group. And so it was really fun. We'd be on the bus together, and we got to go out and do what we love, which is sing. We both went away on internships in between our junior and senior years, and during our senior year, we both had internships that took us away for about a year of time. I did my internship at a church in Colorado, and again, that was like another marker in my life that I look back on. I feel like God was saying, okay, you're definitely on the right path, but let's hone that just a little bit more. I was studying to be a worship leader, so like to be the person leading the songs on the weekend and planning. And my experience at that church on my internship showed me, because it was a larger church, larger than any I had ever been a part of, what it looked like to be a part of a team and to collaborate with other people who wanted the same thing or had the same desires for their church. And so I sat with a team who was talking about the weekend experience and what that could look like. And we would plan things. And I know that sounds really like simple, but I just had known my mom who like picked out songs on her own, or my dad who had a very small staff. And so to be a part of a team that had different layers to it, and they had the ability to think deeper in areas of production or think deeper in areas of theater and drama, was really inspiring to me. And I thought, I don't have to just lead worship. There's like, I feel God expanding my heart for this area of worship and what it could look like, as a church grew. That kind of just lit me up, and went back to school for my senior year with kind of new vision for, okay, I definitely want to work in a church. I definitely want to be a part of a team. Can't wait to see what he does. Meanwhile, that's a good transition, right? Meanwhile, John was on his internship as well, and he was doing an internship in Manchester, New Hampshire. So he was in New England.
Yeah.
He got to spend, I think it was a full year out there in New England working with Manchester Christian Church, and I love them so much. He just was discovering gifts as well. And so I say that all because New England became a really big part of our story, and it all started when he was out there. He came back from his internship. We both graduated, and it was after we graduated that we started dating one another. So we had a long distance relationship where I lived in Indiana and was working at a church, and he lived back in New Hampshire and was continuing to work at Manchester. And that's where we dated. We dated for a year, and then we got married. But we had all these years of, foundational friendship and so many good times together. And we knew each other so well that it didn't feel fast at all. It felt quite normal, and it was exciting. As soon as we got married, I moved out to New Hampshire with him, and we spent total, we were out in New Hampshire for 14 years. 14 of those years John was there, 12 of those years I was with him because we were married. And they were just super sweet years, and just, I would say, some of the most valuable and most important years of our life as we developed as husband and wife. We had our kids out there. We learned a lot about leadership. We learned a lot about the church, and we got to experience working with a team, like shoulder to shoulder with friends and teammates, where we were building the church. And it literally was some of the sweetest days in terms of church work and family life and all of that. That was our New England years, and we got to be a part of a church that grew from about 150 to right around 2,000, 2,500. And so to watch God do miraculous growth like that in a church in New England was just, and to get to be a part of it was amazing, like front row seats. And so much of what we learned in our ministry season there, we draw from today. And so many of the relationships that we had there, we still draw from today, each and every day. And it's how we do ministry now, 21 years in. We've been doing ministry for 21 years, and we still love it. And it's super fun. Now we're in California. We moved to California in 2010, and we work at Saddleback Church. John oversees all of our worship ministries for all of our campuses. We have a lot of campuses. And I look after our worship team at our Lake Forest campus, which is our broadcast campus, or our largest campus. And we have a wonderful team that we love so much, and we get to do a lot of life with. And I just had them in my home today because we were working on some Christmas stuff. And so those are like my favorite times, is when we get to be with each other outside of the office. We go to weddings together. I mean, it's just a treasure. You never know what God is going to do in your story. And there's so many things that are unexpected. John and I have been talking lately, and we never thought, or we never dreamt that we would be in New Hampshire for as long as we were. And then it got to a point where we never really dreamt that we would leave New Hampshire. We did not expect God to be so generous and so kind, and for our story to be as beautiful and wonderful as it was. And so, but we have no reason not to. He is a good God. He's always good to us. And yet looking back, we're just so thankful for what he did in that season. And then we never would have dreamt that we would move to California. I mean, that's literally the exact opposite of New Hampshire. Never would have dreamed that. And yet here we are. And, now we're like, this is amazing. And how good is God, what he's doing here, and who he's provided in our life to share life with, between our team and our small group and things like that. He is a generous and such a good God. And so we trust him with what's going on. And I say that because this year we've had a major, Bethany's already laughing. She's like, what's coming.
I'm getting to know the story.
She's already laughing. I say all of that, and because we've been talking about it so much, because we have two boys, Noah and Hayden. They're 15 and 13. So Noah is a sophomore in high school. Hayden is an 8th grader, and they are amazing. I mean, they're just amazing young men. They love Jesus. Hayden plays the drums and sings, and so he serves in his junior high ministry, and he serves with our team in the weekend ministry. And then Noah plays the violin and he sings, and so he does the same thing. He serves with the high school ministry, and then he serves with our team on the weekends. And it's just been wonderful to watch them grow up in and among and around the people that God has blessed us with, and love the church and love Jesus. A lot of times people ask me, how are you so connected to the church but don't have kids that are like, why do they keep wanting to go? And for us, that's just been one of the greatest joys, is to do ministry together with our family. They're very tall, both of them. My 15-year-old is like 6'4", and they love playing basketball and volleyball. And Hayden's really tall too. He is currently passing me. It's weird because I'm going to be the shortest, pretty quick here. Yeah. So I'm so thankful for my family, and we like to travel, and we like to go to the national parks. We're big national parks people. And so we hop around to as many national parks as we can, and we get stamps in our little national park passport books. We love a good road trip. And so we just have a lot of fun together, and it's super great. I say all of that because this summer we got some really big news that's kind of changing the trajectory of our family just a bit. We found out in July that we are going to have another baby. And so we're super excited. And of course, we were super shocked when we heard that news. I mean, minds blown. We were like, what? And it took us a while to kind of overcome some of that shock and to settle into just a place of really pure excitement and joy. So we are adding another boy, a baby boy, to our family in February of 2019. Everyone is super excited. We started getting the nursery ready. We're getting ready to paint the crib and all those kind of things. And again, we never expected that we would be expecting another child at this stage in the game, but we've also never expected the other things that God has done in our life. And so we trust that because he has a good track record, we trust him with this as well. And we're excited and believe that this is a straight up gift from God and that he gives only good gifts. We're really excited about what's coming. I mean, it leaves a lot whoa, a lot of things will be different, but we're super excited. So that kind of brings you up to present. I mean, that was fast. I told it really quickly, but that's my story so far.
Well, Okay, so here's why I'm like both giddy and like, okay, now I just want to know the baby story, because even as you're sharing, I love that you were talking about the connection we had of like our shared love for the local church and love for New England, because those were definitely major bonding
Right.
moments for us when we met. But now hearing you talk about being a pastor's kid, and like I totally grew up a pastor's kid, and also just that, that story of being a pastor's kid that was not turned away from church and church ministry, but if anything, that God used it to really instill just a passion and desire to be a part of what God's doing.
Yeah.
And then the other side of your guy, you have two boys. I have a boy and a girl, but yours are literally 1 year ahead of my two. So when I saw the announcement on Instagram that you're like, we're expecting, I literally, you're that mom friend that's like, we're kind of in the same season. So you immediately like projected on yourself, like, whoa, hold on. Like trying to wrap my brain around, what if we were expecting again, like right now? And you're there. And here's the thing, truth be told, I've had a few friends that have walked this journey as far as maybe thinking we're probably done in the baby phase. Kids are grown, and then surprise.
Yep.
And every single one of them, the babies that mostly they're now toddlers, we say frequently, like, I just can't imagine life without them.
Right.
At the same time, you described it as shock. I do think that there's like that, also that, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So I'm going to rewind a little bit to that moment, because you had a couple of these moments in your story, right? Like, oh, we're in New Hampshire, and then, oh, we're like staying here long term. And then moving to California, that's not a small shift of anything, culture, distance, you name it. And I mean, I can understand why God would want Rick Warren to know you guys, because that would just be an extra blessing to him as a pastor. So I can see how that would work, but still like a huge shift for your family. So then what does it look like for you to go from the shock news, right? Hello, baby, you're going to have a baby.
Yep.
To that place of, God, you only give good gifts. Like, this is what I know to be true.
Yep.
Because maybe I'm just carnal, but in my own heart, I'm like, if this was my journey, there'd be a little bit of space between those two with a whole lot of different emotions.
Yeah. There was definitely, like a 2-week-ish, time frame where it was difficult news to swallow. And even in the difficult, like when we were like still really processing or really in shock, our mantra or our continual thought was that God is good. God only gives good gifts. God is good. And really that is what we hung onto, because when the fears creep in, or when the worries, or when the doubts, or all the normal things, I mean, like literally, like when you just going back and thinking about all the things you have to get, or all the, your sleep schedule, anything that that comes with a baby, practical. And then just the fact that, we have a 15 and a 13-year-old. So we're kind of like towards the end of the, like we can see the finish line in terms of, high school, or, even, both for both of them, honestly, we were already, we're on one end of the spectrum, we're talking college, we're talking homecoming dances, things like that. And now on the other end of the spectrum, our brains and hearts are making room for, a baby and that phase all over again. And so it really is two different ends of the spectrum, but God is good in both of those places, and in everything in between. One of the things that John and I have always kind of a value that we've always had with our parenting with Noah and Hayden is that, we always want to be present in whatever time it is that we are, whatever season of life that we're going through with them. Mm-hmm. So when it was the baby season, we want to love the baby season. We don't want to be wishing that they were done with diapers. We don't be wishing that they'd sleep through the night, or can't wait until they can walk, or can't wait until they can talk. And then when they hit the toddler stage, all the same things. Can't wait until they're in school. We try and be present with each season. Of course, we're not perfect in that, but we didn't ever want to wish away any of the time that we had. And so same goes for elementary school season. Same goes for the high school, junior high and high school season. We don't, Noah starts to drive this year, but it's never been a big, I can't wait until he drives, because then he can drive himself everywhere, that kind of thing. But to really try and steward well and be present with the season that we're in, and be grateful for the time that we have in the car, or, all those kind of things. And so now that we've been through so many of those seasons already, as in it's not our first time around with kids, I think it just makes us more mindful of the fact that it does go so quickly, and I know a year is a year and time is time, but it doesn't stay any one way for forever. I guess that helps me kind of put things in perspective, and just what a gift that journey has been as Noah and Hayden's parents. The fact that God would trust us to have another little life and to do this thing again from scratch, from beginning, we're just grateful. And it takes a lot of talking that out, of saying what you're worried about, and then saying, but God is good, and really, and I think it's that way with maybe any transition in life, or maybe any problem that you face, because there are lots of things that people have to deal with, where it could be easy to question the goodness of God, or easy to question where he is, or why, or what, or all of that. But to really cling to the fact that he has my best in mind. He is good. What can I point to that shows that? What today can I reference from my past, or even from someone else's present, that shows that he is a good God? I may not be able to see it clearly right now, but I need to say it, and I need to believe it, because it's true no matter what is going on, no matter what I'm facing, good day, bad day, big news, small news, God is good.
Amen. I think it has to say something about you really living that out, what you were talking about, embracing parenting and all the different seasons, that when you made the announcement, and I was telling Andy, I was like, they're expecting. And his question, of course, was, do you think they were planning on having a baby, or do you think it was a surprise? And my response, and this is, again, a reflection of you guys, was I'm like, I could actually see it either way, because they really love their kids. Like, they love being parents. They really embrace that. I'm like, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, let's have another baby.
No, it was a surprise.
This is one of those neat stories that, if we sit down with you 2 years from now and 4 or whatever, like down the line, for you to be able to look back and be like, wow, look at the hand of God in this. Yeah. And I love what you're saying about just being honest and actually speaking, this is what I'm nervous about, or this is what I'm afraid of, but God is good. In the midst of all of this, he is still good. Yeah. So tell me then, Miss Stefanie, as you are expecting another little boy, thinking about your life, and I know your season is going to change probably, somewhat quickly. February is not too far away. What are your thoughts right now in regards to, I know that you serve with your husband full time. Maybe you were like, I don't even know, we're going to play it by ear. But as far as, what does this next season hold for you in your own journey as a mom, as a wife, as a worship pastor?
Yeah. Those are all really good questions. I think we're still figuring some of that out, like the actual logistics and specifics and all of that. And maybe I'm naive. In some respect, there's some things I don't see changing at all. And I know that sounds maybe naive, but just based on how we do our family and how we do ministry. We've always said when Noah and Hayden were little, that when they were born, we're inviting them into a story that already exists. Nothing is really being put completely on pause or stopping or disrupted to the degree that, it becomes all about them and all about their story, but more it's let's bring them along on the journey that God is already writing in our lives. And so in a lot of ways, I see that with this baby as well. We have a wonderful team, and I keep referencing them because they are dear friends. They're people that we work alongside, but that they're also people that we share meals with and we do life with and we love so much. And so I'm excited about bringing this baby into that world, into that, those people's lives. And because I've seen the impact that it has had on Noah and Hayden when we brought them into what we were doing in New England, and then again what we're doing here at Saddleback, when I've seen ownership on their behalf. It's their story too. It's not just mom and dad's story. It's very much like, they get to know these people. They get to be friends with, some of who they think are the coolest people on earth. And they are, but like really special people. They're normal people, but really special people that have shaped who they are as believers. And so I say all that because I don't really envision myself, just totally stepping out of any picture, but rather just stepping in different ways. And I'm excited to see what that looks like. I don't exactly know, but in a lot of ways, I don't anticipate a whole lot changing because I don't know that God, at least right now, I don't sense him changing my passions or John's passions or our heart. And I believe he can. He'll change it whichever way he wants to. But currently, I feel like we have this invitation to be a part of what he's doing in the local church. And we're going to continue doing that. And we're just going to add one more to the bunch, like bring him along and, have him be a part of it as well. So even from the early stages, I know that sounds strange, but even from the baby stages, it's special.
I love that perspective of inviting the baby into a story that already exists. I love it because oftentimes it can be easy to see babies as interruptions to what's okay. Well, there's the pause button. Like now there's a baby involved. But one of the things our family has printed and it's hanging in the wall in our family room, which is kind of our family statement, is on mission together. Yeah. And it's just been that idea of, what God has called us to, he's called us to as a family. And so getting to do things as a family. And I have fuzzy memories of when my children were very small as far as what that looked like when they were tiny. But I just, you saying that is kind of that reminder that didn't start when they came of age or whatever. That's just always been a part of our family's DNA. And I think it's a beautiful example of how the family should work and how even from infancy, the part that God has, he's designed this baby and he's creating and knitting them together and with purpose. And part of that story is his time in your family and the call that he's placed on you and your husband and your boys. I just think it's amazing.
Yeah, that's what we're most excited about, is just to see where God takes the story next.
Amen. So I have a question for you, because you are going to come speak at Simply Beautiful. And I asked you quite a while ago, and you were so gracious and yes, I'd love to. But I'm wondering, for those who are listening that are either going to be at Simply Beautiful, they've heard us talk about it, just in terms of you coming out, your heart to come and speak to these young women, what is it that you feel like God has stirred in your heart that really, it's no small deal to be pregnant and get a ticket to fly all the way across the country to speak at a girls' conference in New England, and yet you're choosing to do it. Why?
Well, I think some of my answers would be that, the same as kind of how I started our conversation is I just love the local church. I love how they want to serve the local church. And I sensed immediately from you and from Andy that your desire is to serve the local church well and to equip people to be able to live their lives for Jesus, to be able to serve well, to be able to feel like they belong to something special. And then also just the fact that it's New England just really hits a special spot in my heart. And I think I would probably do anything, if it meant serving the people of New England, and to be able to be there and to meet people face to face and hear their stories and see who they are and hear where they're from, and to be able to pour in to people that live in a place that poured into us for so many years. I mean, I can't say no to that. I just feel like that's the first thing. And the fact that it's all women and all girls, God has made my story or blessed my life with opportunity to be able to speak to men and women. He's made ways for me to use my voice and to use my experiences. And so anytime I can encourage that in someone else, each one of us, God has something unique and special that he's doing with our lives. And we all have the potential to impact other people around us, whether it's a small circle of people or whether it's a larger circle of people. And so I just love to see those girls that are like, okay, what's next? How do I do this? Let's help one another find those things and encourage one another.
They're just gonna love you, just so you know. I'm excited for them to meet you.
I can't wait.
Well, Stefanie, before I let you leave us, I'm wondering if you would humor me and let me do a rapid fire question round with you.
Okay, I'm nervous.
Okay, don't be scared. Don't be scared. There's no wrong answer because it's all, whatever you answer is the right answer. So I love that I can ask you this because even though you're in California now, you definitely spent your time in New England.
That's right.
But if you're going for a drive, we'll pretend you're in New England and you want to stop for a coffee or a hot beverage. Are you swinging through Starbucks or are you swinging through Dunkin' Donuts?
Are you kidding me? Dunkin' Donuts all the way.
You are so New England. Oh, so if you want to chat with a girlfriend, would you rather text or phone call?
I'm a big texter, but if it's going to be like really need to talk about something, then definitely phone call.
Nah, just shallow conversation. So if you're going for a road trip, you and the hubs, would you rather drive or ride?
I like to ride because I enjoy the conversation and the scenery. But if it gets to a tricky part where we need to really navigate, I like it better when he navigates because I'm not very good at it. So that works better because I'm like, tell me where we're going. So
well, good teamwork, right? I like that. So if you can remember, what is the last book that you read and really liked?
Okay. I loved The Nightingale. And I can't remember the author right now, but I like historical fiction, and that one, and I particularly like the World War II time period, and so The Nightingale was really great. If you like that kind of stuff, read it.
Ooh, I like that. What was the last movie that you spent money to see? So you rented it, you bought it, or you went to the theater?
We just saw Finale, the movie. Again, it's World War II, but this one was a true story, and just how they tracked down the guy, kind of the mastermind behind all the World War II, the genocide, and all of that. So
was it good?
Yeah, it was really good. I like that kind of movie.
I'm gonna put that on my list. So when you're at the movies, you get to pick your favorite snack to munch on. What do you choose?
I like popcorn and Junior Mints together.
Nice. Oh, do you put the mints in the popcorn?
Well, it's like I take a bite of popcorn and then I'll eat a Junior Mint. And then I'll take a bite of popcorn. But I can't resist the smell of the popcorn right when I walk in.
Oh, it's so good.
It is so good. And the movie is called Operation Finale. I think I said finale, but Operation Finale.
Operation Finale. And it's in the theater right now?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Love it. All right. So let's say hypothetically, I had $100 to hand you right now, but you could only use it to do something fun. What would you spend it on?
$100 right now. I would probably go out to dinner and maybe go with John, like we'd go to dinner together because that's fun, and maybe go buy something from the Gap.
Love it. I like the Gap.
I know.
All my Gap clothes last way longer than other.
They're the best. I've been a Gap girl for years. So I used to work at the Gap. I left that out of my story.
Ooh, see, you got discounts. That's the way to go.
Right.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
And maybe my favorite and the most insightful. Who is your Hollywood crush?
Oh, my Hollywood crush. Oh, man. I'm thinking... I'm not good at questions like that.
Did you ever have one when you were younger? That's another fair answer. They don't have to be current.
Right. Like Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Damon, those guys.
Oh, you like the besties.
Yeah, besties. New Englanders, right?
Yes. I can see what you see in them.
That's so great.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Steph, for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to hear your story, and I cannot wait for baby to be born.
Me either. February comes quick.
Oh, it will. It will. Okay, I have decided that pretty much every single person that I have met that lives in California are just the nicest and kindest and happiest people. I don't know if it's the sunshine, something in the water, but California, there's something about your people, and I'm definitely warming up to you. And that's a big deal because we're like a whole country apart, but man, I'm kind of like craving a trip to California. I want to do like a tour and just go meet all of the guests that we have had that currently live in California. I think that'd be so fun. Anyone want to go on a road trip? Well, until we pull off that road trip, I just want to say this interview with Stefanie, so encouraging to me. I appreciate her heart so much. The ministry and work that her and her husband and their family have. They're at Saddleback Church, the ministry they had for years here in New England. And just the fact that they came in and were so willing to serve in our conferences here and are coming back to serve again this season just says so much to me about who they are and the heart that God's given them. And I will just say one of the most powerful parts of the interview for me was when she talked about expecting a baby and just the transition that they are facing with adding a baby when they've got 2 teenage boys. And I just clung on to that statement when she talked about how for them having a baby was really about inviting them in to a story that's already being written. And I just thought that was such a beautiful description of what just their perspective on all of this, because it was a surprise. And if any of you listeners are out there and you've walked through that before, I'm sure like there's a shock factor to it. Like, oh my goodness, I was not planning on this. But I just think about everything in our life. It doesn't have to be a baby, just any scenario or twist in the story when stuff happens that was not necessarily even on our radar. And we have to shift and surrender and embrace what God's doing and realizing that whatever that thing is, whatever the surprise is, that it's coming into a story that's already being written, that it's part of this story that is playing out in your life. It's part of your journey and your race. And what does it look like to fully embrace that? Even sometimes it's things that are really good and they're just shocking. Other times it can be things that are hard, but knowing that God is a God that does not waste anything. And that was a good reminder for me today. I feel like it's definitely been through seasons of big surprises and things that I did not see happening in our story, and really challenging me to think about how do I walk through those things and embrace them and just surrender them before God and let Him use them for His glory. And even if they're things that are difficult, for Him to be able to redeem them in His time and for His glory. I hope you were encouraged by this. I hope that a lot of you are coming to Simply Beautiful and you'll get a chance to meet Stefanie face to face. And if you have not registered yet, you absolutely need to go to berea.org and register. They're pouring in, and I don't want you to lose your spot. It's going to be such a great day, October 20th in Uxbridge, Mass. I would dare say it's worth a plane ticket. Yeah, so all my friends who maybe you can't drive, maybe you got to fly in, you can stay with me. It'll be like a slumber party. So much fun. That's only for the girl listeners. I didn't want that to be awkward. If you're a guy listener, you're not having a slumber party here. Just in case you're confused. Oh, it's been so wonderful having Steph. Another week, another great episode. It's a holiday. I know we're releasing this, and while you guys are listening to this podcast, I am going to be taking my camper on its inaugural, is that what it's called? Inaugural trip or whatever. Basically, the first time we're ever going to do this thing. We're towing a little tiny camper behind my Pilot. I'm so excited. Get to go visit my Nana. It's going to be a good time. So wherever this day finds you, I am just praying that you are encouraged and that you continue to just run your race in your place. We'll see you next week.